Hey guys, it's Andy. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be learning how to make this dress, and if that's something you're interested in, keep on watching. So here I took a Princess Polly dress and I measured from the top of my boob to right under, so that's what that distance is, and then I just traced it. A tank top is totally fine. And I'm adding about 2 inches off into the side and moving it because we're going to ruche it later, and then I'm adding a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And now I'm just cutting it out. I also used poster board for the pattern because I always just use that. And now I'm taking the back of the dress and I'm measuring it the same distance as the front, and I'm adding that 1 centimeter seam allowance, and I'm just cutting it out. And now I'm taking this dress form I made. You can make this by measuring your waist, hips, and legs. And I'm just adding a 2 centimeter seam allowance for where we're gonna string through the string to make the ruching detail in the front. And now I'm just cutting that out. I also folded it through the middle to make it even. I definitely recommend doing that when you're making patterns, just to make sure that everything is even. Now I'm just tracing my pattern onto the fabric. I'm using a Sharpie, but I honestly recommend using chalk because that's washable. I just thought using a Sharpie would make it easier to show up on camera because my chalk is kind of sheer. Then I measured the distance between under my bust to over my knee, so that's what I'm showing there, is that because that's how long I want to make the dress so that it can have like that nice ruche detail. So make sure you do that, because if you don't and you use the skirt pattern that you have, it will be way too short. I already made that mistake when I was making this video, is that I just cut it right away and then I was like, dang it, this wasn't what I was supposed to do. So make sure you're paying attention, unlike me. And I'm just tracing that out. Also, sorry if I say a lot. I know my public speaking professors would be losing it, but I'm just new to this, so hopefully you guys are okay with that. And I'm just cutting. You know how it goes. Tracing again, boop-a-doop-a-doo. Nothing new. Sorry if this seems boring, I just didn't know if you guys wanted to see that. Now I'm tracing out the side pieces that you saw that I made. They were the leftover from the middle piece, and I just was trying to figure out how to best put it on the fabric, and I'm just gonna trace that out. And yeah, nothing crazy. So here I'm just doing the middle piece, tracing that out, making sure to measure the same distance to over my knee. And now I'm just doing the other side piece, making sure it's the same length and everything. And now I'm just cutting the rest of the pieces out like that. Also, if anybody has any constructive criticism, I know I'm definitely not the best dressmaker or sewer. I'm still a beginning sewer. This is the third dress that I've ever made. So if anybody notices anything that they think that could improve, please let me know in the comments below. I'd really love that. And then you should get some pieces that look just like that. And now we're just going to sew it all together. So here I am sewing the top piece. I'm going to be shirring it. So I have elastic thread in the bottom and regular thread at the top. My machine doesn't shirr correctly, so I have to like pull the elastic thread. So I sew this with a tension of 1 so that it's able to like properly be like pulled without breaking anything. So here I'm just pulling the thread and making it look all ruched and cute, just like the Princess Polly dress. We're also going to do this. I did it on the bottom and on the top. And on one of them, as you're going to see later, I did it with regular thread because I saw a YouTube video and it looked super cute, but I ended up not measuring enough. So as you'll see, like with my dress, it's not ruched in the front because it ended up snapping. So I just did a regular straight stitch because I was kind of over it at that point. But if you do want it to look ruched, I would recommend using the elastic thread because it will stretch with the fabric and your body. Also, I did notice, I didn't do this, but I did notice that if you hem it before and then ruche it, that helps. So here I'm just hemming the bottom of the dress. Or actually I'm not hemming the bottom of the dress. I'm hemming the top of the dress. I decided to do that first because I just noticed that like that worked better when you went to go shirr it, to have it like already rolled. It just gave it like a lot cleaner of a finish. And then what I did is because I did it on such a loose tension, I ruched it, and I feel like that definitely helps. So essentially, I'm not explaining this well, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hem it, but use the elastic thread on the bottom and then use regular thread on the top and then pull the thread. I think here I did all just regular thread, but like I said, that ended up not working out for me. So if you do want that cute ruche detail in the front, like how it was in the back, I would definitely do it with elastic thread. I just feel like that worked a ton better. But if you do end up measuring like the fabric out more than 2 inches like I did, I think that doing it with the regular thread will work out just perfectly too. Also, when you're pulling, if you are using regular thread, you do the same thing as if you were doing it with the elastic thread. You just pull it with one of the threads. You don't have to do both at the same time. But I do recommend doing the elastic thread, and if your machine does shirr, like I've tried 1,000,001 things and I just can't get it to shirr, so if anybody has any tips on how I can make it shirr, please comment below, because my old machine used to do it, but this one just doesn't. But that will give it the ruche detail. Now here I'm just sewing the pieces together. I think this is the side of the dress, and I'm just putting all the pieces together. I think this is actually the back of the dress, and I'm sewing through the middle because that's how I did it in the back, because I had 2 separate pieces in the back and then the 3 pieces in the front. And here I'm sewing on the side pieces to the middle piece. I did this at about a tension of 4. That's why I noticed it worked well. I'm using like a t-shirt knit fabric, and I think that it works best if you slightly pull the fabric because then it gets a little bit bunchy. So I would pull it slightly because I think that makes the thread stretch with the fabric. That might be something that people already know to do, but I didn't do it for all of the pieces and I had to end up restitching it. And here I'm just hemming the bottom. I would recommend doing that before you sew all the pieces together because I had to seam rip and then hem and then re-sew it back together. So I would recommend hemming it first before sewing all 3 panels together. That's like a mistake that I made that if I could go back, that's what I would fix if I was to do the dress again. Here I'm sewing along the edge to make the little, what are they called? It's like the little casing that you're gonna put the string through that we're gonna make, which I will show you in the next few clips. But try to do this on the edge so that you can easily put the string through. And I noticed since the pattern that I had initially made was for a dress with no stretch, so I'm just pinning it together with the front pieces and I'm going to cut off the excess fabric. And I feel like when I pin it before I cut it, then it doesn't move, so I can get like a more accurate line. So to make the strings, I did about, I want to say 2 inches of fabric, and I'm just folding them into each other, as you can see, and pinning them, because that makes it about the length that I want it for the dress. And I did the whole length of the string is, I want to say, is either 2 or 3 yards. I'm pretty sure it was 2 yards because I think 3 yards would have been too much. But I just did 1 long string, and as you're going to see, I'm going to like put it through the little casing in the next few clips. But first I would just pin everything, so that's what I'm doing here. And then after you have it all pinned, you're going to want to press it. I would recommend pressing all of your hems and seams before sewing. I just feel like it makes it a lot easier. That's probably an already known fact, but I just thought I would say it. So here I am. This is one of the clips that I do show of me ironing it, just to make it easier to sew. Then sewing the string part, I'm using a zigzag stitch. I used a side to side length of 6 and an up and down length of 4. And I used a tension of 4. And I'm just going along the middle. It wasn't totally perfect, but if you're able to keep it straight, that would be pretty cool. And then I'm using, to do the casing, I put a safety pin on the edge of the string, and I'm just putting it through the casing all the way up. This is a little bit time consuming, but it's definitely worth it to get the cute detail. So you just want to go up one side and then down the other. So I just used one really long string, but if you want, you could make 2 shorter strings and do it on each side. It just depends what you want to do, but I felt like that was easiest. Also, when you're making the straps for later, I did the exact same method as making the string to slip into the casing to create that ruche detail. And I made the dress as long as to make it mid-thigh, because that's where I like my dresses to sit. And now I'm just adjusting everything to make sure it's not too tight. And I'm going to sew on the front piece. So I'm just pinning that down with a few pins, and just make sure you stretch it when you're sewing, which you'll see in the next clip. So now I'm just making sure that everything is straight and sewing. I'm sewing in front of where I did the shirring, just to make sure that that doesn't like pop out from under it in the dress so you don't see it. And now I have both sides of the dress. I did the exact same thing for the back. I just sewed on the back piece, and now I'm just pinning the sides to be able to sew the dress all together. Also, I forgot to mention this, but I ended up making this mistake, so hopefully you guys don't, but make the dress for the back piece as long as you are going to have it ruched in the front piece. So I ended up cutting it and re-hemming it to make it mid-thigh. But also what you could do in the back is you could add on that 2 centimeter seam allowance on the inside, and you could add another string to have like a little bow in the back too. That would be really cute. And now I'm just sewing the dress all together. Now I'm just pinning on the straps. What you're going to want to do is try on the dress like where it's like a strapless dress, and then measure from the back to the front where you want the straps to be, and then you're going to make them that length, and then just make sure you mark where you want them and sew them on from that place. So right now I'm just pinning the straps on right where I measured. And now I'm just sewing the straps on. I made the length 2 to make it a little bit tighter, and I still use a tension of 4, and I just sewed back and forth a few times just to make sure that the straps were extra secure. And then that's all you have to do to make this Princess Polly inspired dress. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And bye for now.